Hello ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? This is Force with some WildStar discussion. In today's video, I'd just like to give you guys sort of a bit of a recap of how the first couple of days of early access have gone for myself and then just people across the board. Now, before we get into talking about any of the problems, do realize that things like this typically aren't universal and some people may be having issues that you aren't. So don't freak out and yell and say, he's lying, I don't have this problem. I've played without any issues whatsoever the entire weekend. Because different people on different servers, on different computers, do very much so have different experiences. And I just want to get that out of the way because in the past when I've talked about launches of games, people have come at me saying, that's not true, I've played just fine. And I want to pull out my hair being like, are you an idiot? Do you not realize that the experiences are going to vary across the board? So anyway, with that out of the way, let's just talk about the launch experience. First and foremost, I have to say, with the exception of a few pretty big problems that people have been having, it's been a relatively smooth launch, especially, you know, you compare it to something like the launch of ESO, which was incredibly buggy, had all sorts of issues between, you know, gold duping and bank bugs, people losing stuff out of their bank slots disappearing, quests not working, people getting stuck in zones, continuous rolling restarts in which you lose like an hour's worth of progress. That was a messy launch. This has been overall pretty smooth. We've had a couple of things that have cropped up. The biggest problem, I would say, and the biggest complaint have been the long queue times. So let's just talk about this for a moment. WildStar has decided to go with the shard system, and it is a straight shard system in this, and what that means, if you don't know, is that there's just separate servers, and you pick a server, and that's the server you're locked to, and the server has a population cap. So when that cap is met, if you're trying to log into that server, you are going to have to sit in a queue, basically a waiting line. And some of those queues have been reportedly upwards of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours where people have tried to log in. They've been thousands and thousands of spots back waiting to get in, and they've had to wait for almost an entire day. And the most frustrating thing from what I've seen for those people, this hasn't personally happened to me, but there have been people who have waited several hours in queue only to be met with an error screen as soon as they get their spot up, and then they can't log in. Like, I can only imagine if I'd waited 4 hours and then I finally get my spot in queue and then the client crashes and there's an error and I can't even make my character. Like, oh, for those people, very, very frustrating. Now, not everyone has had this problem, and not everyone has been met with long queue times. It depends on the server that you decide to go to, and then when you're trying to log in, if the population is high at that moment. So I just want to talk about this for a second. Traditional shard system. A lot of people see it as outdated. There are pros and cons to both. So let's take a look once again. Let's talk about ESO. ESO went with a mega server. Now, the great thing about a mega server is you never have to wait to log in, because if a server's full, you're just gonna get spilt right into another server. Now, the problem with something like a mega server, in some people's eyes, is that there's not much of a sense of community, because you don't have your server where you know all the guilds and you know all the people on your own faction and on the enemy faction. Or you have something like Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 originally launched with a traditional shard system, but then they also had overflow servers, so that if your server, so you've got your main server, but if it's full when you try to log on, you're not going to be put in a queue, you're going to be placed into an overflow server so that you can still play, but it just won't be on your main server with those main people. Now, once a spot opens up, you can then get brought back into your main server and you're all set. And then we have WildStar. There are the set server shards. Oh, also, mind you, Guild Wars 2 has recently switched to the mega server technology, but that's just how they launch. But then we've got a game like WildStar, where you've got the set shards, similar to like the World of Warcraft, and at the launch, if there's no space, you get put in queue. So yeah, there's pros and cons. It's a little unfortunate that they didn't at least go with the overflow system. I think that that's probably the best of both worlds. You still have your set server, you still definitely get that sense of community, but if you're trying to log in and it's full, at least you still get to play. Like, at least that option's still there. So long queue times, that's been a problem. That's been frustrating for people. There's also been some, I guess, memory leakage in which some people are pointing to some add-ons like the BG nameplates, but other people have said, I have no add-ons and I still am experiencing memory leakage. So it looks like there's some memory leaking problem that is occurring just with the WildStar client itself. So hopefully that gets sorted out. But honestly, as far as I can tell from my own experience and checking Reddit, that's been it. We've had no rolling restarts. We've had hardly any server downtime. I think that the longest downtime we had was 2 hours earlier this morning, in which they implemented a patch and did some back-end fixes. And then prior to that, I think there was one time, I pretty much played all weekend, and I think I only recall one other time where they took the servers down for like 30 minutes. But that is a smooth launch, especially considering that they obviously, with all these full servers, they've been adding new servers consistently. With all these full servers, and the fact that they have to keep adding new servers, they're definitely getting hit with a larger volume than they anticipated. And to have that happen, and to hardly have any server downtime, I think that's fantastic. And to hardly have, I've seen almost no reports of bugs. You know, again, talking about ESO, there are bugs everywhere. It seemed like everyone was encountering bugs and huge latency problems. I've seen no latency problems. I've seen some FPS issues, but I think that's just down to the memory leaking problem. But yeah, no, I have seen no bugged quests. I've seen no latency problems. It's been smooth. It has been a very, overall, obviously anyone who's been stuck in queue for several hours is going to be very, very upset. But besides that problem, overall, it's been a very smooth launch. The game itself, the gameplay itself, everything's just working as it should, firing on all cylinders. And you know what? I've got to hand it to Carbine. That's mighty impressive. They're getting hit with higher volume than they expected. They're having to add new servers, but with almost no bugs and hardly any server downtime for these first few days, I'm terribly impressed. It's been really good. Now, just the gameplay experience itself. I'm currently higher than I ever reached in the beta. I'm almost level 30 right now. I've been playing pretty much all weekend. I'm having a blast, I have to say. I really enjoyed the game in the beta. And you know, we're still in the honeymoon phase, even though I got 2 characters up to level 25 in the beta, and then I got a couple characters up to like level 10 to 15. But the game just launched. We're definitely still in the honeymoon phase. It's going to be some time before the dust settles and we decide, is this something we'll stick around with it? But so far, it's just great. It's been nothing but awesome. Once more, the only real big problem has been those long queue times. That will subside over time. At least we hope it does. And everything else is great. I'm loving the gameplay experience. As I've talked about in the past, I love the combat system. It's super fluid and responsive, and the telegraph system, I think, makes even just regular questing much more interesting than the traditional tab target system lends itself to. It's all around been a great experience. All sorts of different environments that I've really been enjoying. I actually just made a trip to another planet that has lower gravity than the average planet. And when you're there, you basically, when you jump, you're in the air a lot higher. It's a small thing, but it's interesting, and I liked it. And yeah, just there's been a ton of varying environments that I've really enjoyed. Once more, I've always enjoyed the combat. I spent a little bit of time in dungeons, although I've put that on the back burner for now, just because it appears to be the case that the fastest way to level is to stay at or just below the level range of the area that you're in and be grinding the main story quest. That seems to be the quickest way to level. I started off sort of meandering. I've picked up speed since then. I expect to be level 50 by the end of the week. There are already level 50s. I think there were level 50s within the first 36 hours. I'm pretty sure that's correct. There were some level 50s out there already. People obviously know the best grinding spots and what to do. But yeah, it's been good, man. It's been overall pretty smooth, with the exception of those issues, the login queue times and the memory leaking. That's pretty much been it, and I am having a great time. I'm going to keep playing this week. I'll give you guys updates. I want to show you guys all sorts of stuff. The housing system is really cool, and I want to show you sort of how that works and the different things that you can do, because I've been having fun playing around with that as well. But right now, I'm probably just going to go back to grinding levels, and I'll be streaming throughout the week as well, so you can come watch me in that process if you like. But yeah, that does it. Launch day recap for those first couple of days so far. It's been pretty good. I've been having a good time, and it's been pretty smooth. Okay, there we go. Broken record. Let's wrap up the video. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoy the content. Stay tuned for more WildStar and other great gaming coverage here on the channel. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Keep watching, and keep owning.
Triple kill.